7 Generation Games presents How Do You Make Video Games?
Backstories. There are a lot of things that go into making video games. A lot of things. But all video games start with ideas. Now, just sitting around having ideas for video games and telling other people at a video game company to make the game you came up with is not a job. But coming up with the ideas for games is part of what game designers do. And today, you are a game designer, which is good because we can use your help. As the job title suggests, game designers work on game design. Game design can cover a whole bunch of different things. It can mean everything from coming up with a gameplay. For example, it's a maze game, and you have to watch out for obstacles. Or it's a platformer, and you have to jump from platform to platform. Or it's a search game, and you have to find various things around a room. To the narrative, or that's another way of saying game storyline, to character development, to more. Now, think about what makes for good video games. There's fun gameplay, good graphics. Is it challenging enough but not too challenging? Good artwork, and an engaging story, which is what we're currently in the process of building out. Now, what do good stories have? That's right, good characters. And when we're talking about both designing, or coming up with, story and characters, one of the things that we also need is a backstory. Now, a backstory is a history or background, especially one created for a fictional character. Think about it. Stories start from the beginning of a story, but they don't start from the beginning of time. There are things that happen before the story actually started that got you to the part where your story starts. And that's the same thing for characters. We don't meet every character at birth and then learn everything about them until the part where they fit into our story happens. We just meet them where they fit into our story. But here's a fun fact about characters. Whether it's books, movies, TV shows, video games, everybody has a backstory. And it's always more than makes it into the part you interact with when, say, you're playing the game. But the designers know. It determines where in the game the character turns up. Is the character helpful, or are they trying to stop you? It determines how characters might interact with each other, or what their motivation is for going on the game quests. Here's an example of a backstory from one of our games, Forgotten Trail. Angie is one of the game's main characters who you play as while traveling across the country trying to retrace the Ojibwe migration. Here's her backstory.
Hi, I'm Angie. I'm that kid in high school who you always seem to forget. I'm a good athlete, but not the best. My grades are just good enough to keep teachers and parents off my back. I am so sick of not standing out from the crowd. For once in my life, I'm going to do something amazing. If my great bunch of greats grandmother could walk thousands of miles at my age, carrying whatever she needed to survive, I can too. People don't give me enough credit. I can figure things out. I'm smarter than they think and braver than they know. I'm going to make it to the end of the Forgotten Trail. No one and nothing is going to stop me.
Now, often the designers will create the narrative, characters, and backstories and provide that to the art team, so they have something to work with as they create the look of the characters. Or at least that's ideally how it works. But as anyone who works on video games can tell you, the processes don't always go as planned. Sometimes you end up working backwards, or the process is turned upside down, or it's some kind of crazy zigzag pattern, which is how sometimes you have characters who need backstories, which is what we've got right now. We're working on a follow-up game to Forgotten Trail, where the main characters will be interacting with several different people along the way. These folks. Cool-looking bunch, right? Only at the moment, how they look is all we've got. What we need from you is backstories. Here's the extra cool part. When we're done, if you want, you can send the backstory you create to us at info@7generationgames.com. And our design team will review it, send you a thank you, and you just might find it added into a future game. Or at least part of it added. That's kind of how the game design process tends to work. It's collaborative, meaning a bunch of us get together, we have a bunch of different ideas, and we take those ideas, put different pieces of them together, and create a character's backstory. Cool, huh? All right, let's get started. The first thing you'll need is something to write down your ideas. It can be on a device, computer, Chromebook, tablet, smartphone, or it can be in a notebook or a piece of paper with a pencil or a pen. Just something to write with. And your imagination. That's really all you need to start here. So let's get going. I hope you don't mind that I invited some of the other folks here at 7 Generation Games to help me out. You'll meet them in just a second here. The first step is to pick a character. You're going to have that character in your mind as we walk through the next few steps. Got your character selected? You're good to go? All right, then let's get started. Now, take a second and look at your character. Now we're going to come up with the person behind your character. Not like I'm the person behind that animated talking character you've seen, but like all the things that make up their personality. First things first, your character needs a name. My name is Maria Burns Ortiz, and I'm co-founder and CEO of 7 Generation Games, which means I'm one of the people that started the company and now runs it. I also run our game design team, where we do things like what you're doing now in coming up with this backstory. So what is your character's full name? First, middle, and last. Or maybe they don't have a middle name. Maybe like me, they have 2 last names, Burns, Ortiz, although theirs could be different 2 last names, right? They're your character, so you get to name them whatever you like. I'll give you a minute to think about it. Decided on a name? If so, great. If not, you can either pause here while you figure it out, or you can come back to this part. But I'm going to turn it over to my colleagues, that's another word for people I work with, for the next questions to help you come up with your character's backstory.
Hi, I'm Diana, and at 7 Generation Games, what I work on is project management, or making sure the many parts and pieces come together to create the game. As you're building out your character's backstory, I want to know, what is your character's family situation? Who is raising the character? One parent? Both parents? A grandparent? Maybe they live with someone else. Do they have siblings? If so, how many? And where do they fall? Are they the oldest? The youngest? In the middle? Maybe they're an only child.
Hi, I'm Christy. At 7 Generation Games, I'm a community manager, which means I interact with students and teachers who play our games. As you are building out your character's backstory, I want to know, what is your character's home? Where do they live? Is it a city, in a country, in a suburb? What type of home? An apartment, a house, a cabin? Maybe they're in between houses right now.
Hi, I'm Daniel, and at 7 Generation Games I oversee testing. That means that I make sure that all of our games have been played through and there aren't bugs that ruin playing the game. As you're building out your character's backstory, I want to know about your character's pet. Give your character a pet. What kind of pet it is? What's his name? Does your pet have any skills or things it likes to do?
Hi, I'm Ali, and at 7 Generation Games I work on development, which is the coding or programming part of making games. As you're building on your character's backstory, I want to know what your character's favorite subject in school is, why they like that subject, and why it's their favorite.
Hi, I'm Anthony, and at 7 Generation Games, I work on development, which is the coding or programming part of making games. As you're building out your character's backstory, I want to know, what is your character's dream job? What does this character want to be when they grow up? And why do they want to do that specific job? What is it about that job that they're most interested in?
Hi, I'm Julie at 7 Generation Games. I work on development, which is the coding or the programming part of making games. As you're building out your character's backstory, I want to know what your character's hobby is. What does your character like to do for fun? Do they play a sport or maybe an instrument? If so, which one? Maybe they like to draw, or dance, or do magic tricks, or go rock climbing, or play chess, or cook, or one of the many infinite possibilities.
Thanks for the great backstories questions, guys. Now, let's look back at the character that you chose. Think about how when you first looked at your character in the beginning, you didn't know anything about them, right? Now look at them. They've got a name and a dream job and a hobby and a favorite subject and a pet. You've started to bring them to life. That's kind of how game design works and how making video games starts, where we take ideas that only existed in our team's imaginations and working together across a number of different jobs in the company, like project management, community support, art and animation, sound effects and music, coding, research, testing. We take ideas from our heads and turn them into something you can play in your hands. Don't forget, if you want to send us your backstories, we would love to see them. Just email info@7generationgames.com. And you can also learn more about what we do at 7 Generation Games and the games we make by visiting our website, www.7generationgames.com. Untitled.com.